Kaylin Schack, Doctor of Chiropractic at Tracy Chiropractic, and also the team doctor and coach for Athletic Perfection. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about competition food and what your kids can eat on days of competition and kind of leading up to it so that we can get the best performance out of them. First thing I want to talk about is basically the three components that make up our food. We have carbohydrates, we have protein, and we have fats. Okay, so carbohydrates is just a fancy schmancy name for glucose, and the glucose can come in a form of like a complex version where there's lots of different molecules, and those are the good kind that we like, or a very simple version, basically like refined sugars and things like that, where I'll get into those in a little bit. But the glucose that we eat goes into our muscles. It's stored as glycogen, and that's what the athletes use when they're performing, that to give them all the energy that we need from them. So the simple ones, like I talked about, are the bad ones. Those trigger a real quick insulin release. What that means is it takes the sugar from the food, puts it in the bloodstream, makes your athletes really, really tired. Things like that they could be eating on the mornings of competition that would be not good for them would be things like real sugary cereals, biscuits, soda, candy, things like that. Those are common sense things. What we'd like for them to eat first thing in the morning, or at least like 1 to 4 hours before they compete, are complex carbohydrates, complex glucose molecules. Things that are also made up of vitamins and minerals, and they have protein in them a little bit too. What that does is it triggers a steady release of blood sugar, and you can get that from things like 100% whole grain bread. So my bread from home, this is what I eat all the time, and notice that says 100% whole wheat. There's lots of fake things out there in the store that will say 100% natural, things like that, but you want to go for the 100% whole wheat, whole grain. That's going to give your kids a lot of energy. If you can compare it with something like a nut butter, an almond butter, peanut butter, things that when you read the ingredients label on the back, it just says dry roasted almonds. There's no hydrogenated oils in it, there's no added sugars. Like I talked about in the last video, you want to eat things that are whole. So this is basically as whole as it gets, it's just ground down. Other things that they can eat that are really good for them in the morning would be things like dried fruit and fruit smoothies, low-fat milks, yogurts, things like that. When you mix those things with a little bit of fat, then you get the best bang for your buck, so to say. So talking about the smoothies and things like that, I drink smoothies regularly. The rest of the coaching staff does. So I think it's something that you can tell your kids, like, oh, the coaches drink this stuff, you're going to want to drink it too. Maybe that'll spark them up to want to do it a little bit more. Throw anything you can in them. Lots and lots of oranges, bananas, apples, anything you can get, throw it in there. Throw some almonds in there for some added protein, and just remind them, this is what your coaches eat, this is what is going to give you fuel for your competition. And on top of that, it's a great thing that you can throw in the blender on the way out to the competition when you're leaving at 7 in the morning for an early one. Also, we have protein bars. So I have two here. We have this one and this one. They look pretty much the same, and this is the type of bar that is a little bit more expensive. Granted, I'll give you that, but also it has the best combination of carbs, fats, and proteins this is designed for athletic performance. By no means is this a breakfast or things that we want them to eat solely before their competition, but it has enough protein and enough carbohydrates to give them the energy that they need and the sustaining ability to last throughout the competition. This is one that looks pretty good. It says 100% natural on it like before, except for the second ingredient on there is sugar. And that's what we were talking about at the beginning with the simple carbohydrates that they have too much blood sugar, and or they give you too much rise in blood sugar and cause you to fatigue a lot faster. A couple more things I want to talk about is hydration. We talk about it in the gym all the time, especially in the winter or in the summer months, but in the winter months it's just as important. We want to hydrate them at least 24 hours prior to, so that we can give their body the best chance of fighting fatigue. You know, when we're exercising, our muscles generate heat, and the only way our body can cool that down is by sweating. When you're dehydrated, then you can't perform those functions really well, and your body starts to shut down a little bit. So we want to hydrate before. We also want to hydrate during the competition. We want to hydrate at least 8 to 10 ounces of water about every hour. So if we're at the competition for 8 hours, they should be drinking a ton of water, and it's so important, especially for after they give us that big burst of 2.5 minutes of energy. We want them to be able to be hydrated and have a good performance the following day if it's a 2-day competition. Things you want to avoid would be fats, things that are slow in digestion. They stay in your stomach for a long period of time, and your body ends up pulling blood into your stomach and that causes cramping, and that causes a little bit of discomfort, and so we don't want that before the competition, and they end up uncomfortable before they compete. Things like that would be if you stop to get donuts on the way out of town, or you give them chips because they're a little bit hungry, or you give them string cheese, or something that's really higher in fat early in the morning. Those are things that are okay in moderation, and especially cheese at the end, but definitely not in the beginning, too much fat. Other examples of great snacks after they perform, you can, almonds, they have them in these cute little packs. I think they're cool. I eat them a lot. This is a new thing I just found. It's applesauce. Like I talked about, it's a complex carbohydrate fruit, has a lot of vitamins in it, great thing you can throw in the bag. Oranges I held up earlier. So try to incorporate all these things, and you're going to have the best fuel for your athlete to give us the best performance and to have them be in the best shape that they can. So I have been an athlete since I was 5. I competed in gymnastics and cheerleading and sports acrobatics, and I basically lived in competition season every weekend of my life. So these are things that I was learning throughout the time that I was performing it for my coaching staff, and then also obviously in my schooling. So hopefully these are some tips that you can use, and you can help fuel your athletes, and we'll get the best performance out of them and make you guys happy in a winning team. Thanks so much.